Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kittiac Beach, North Carolina. We're going to spend some time talking about North Carolina tonight. But first, as we've been doing, we're going to go right in and talk about the United States of America. And we are going to do the national anthem, and just prior to that, the Pledge of Allegiance. Would everybody please rise now?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now would you make welcome, straight from Washington, D.C., the United States Army Corps Quartet.
Yeah.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Oh yeah! Come on, folks, let them know it.
America's finest, the United States military. And it doesn't matter where you are serving, gentlemen and women of the military. It doesn't matter whether you're serving here in the United States or abroad. We also want to thank our allied forces, wherever you might be this evening. God bless you all. May you all return home to your families in safety as your tours of duty end. God bless you all, and thank you all for your service. Folks, we have a lot to talk about tonight. Believe you me, we're going to be all over the place, literally. Again, I'm going to remind you all that it is National Preparedness Month. One of the reasons we started doing this channel is because we wanted to talk about emergency preparedness, and that's exactly what we have been doing. Talking about preparedness, talking about things that are happening right now that could influence any one of us and put us in a pinch or even destroy our families. We want to make sure we're prepared for whatever hits. The majority of the program tonight is going to be talking about a storm, a great big huge storm. We'll get back to that one right here. This is Tropical Storm Ophelia. Tropical Storm Ophelia has grown in strength. They honestly did not believe that it would be anything more than a tropical depression. That's of last night. During the night, the storm increased in power. The temperature of the surface of the water here is about 64, 65 degrees, 18 degrees Celsius. The storm was turning out in the Atlantic Ocean out there off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina. It has now come ashore. It is a tropical storm of about 64, 65 miles per hour. Like I said, part of it has come ashore now. Part of it has come ashore. This part of it. Okay? I'm going to show you radar images of where this storm actually is. The eye of the storm has not come ashore, but the outer bands of the storm have. As you can see down here in the lower center part of the slide, Ophelia is already over Myrtle Beach area, going up into Fayetteville, going north, North Carolina, going up towards Raleigh, North Carolina. Look at this, and all the way up into Virginia. It's interesting to note that the state of Virginia has declared a state of emergency because of Ophelia. Now, Ophelia may turn into a Category 1 hurricane tonight. It may turn into a Category 1 hurricane tonight. I want you to look closely at the eye of this storm. The eye of this storm is down there just off the coast of South Carolina. It is definitely moving north. I showed you the storm track just a few minutes ago. This is a very strong, definitely a very dangerous storm. I want to show you a movie that where'd it go here? This is a movie, a video that Rebecca put together for us. NCWQ put together for us. I want to play this now for you. I believe this will give you a good insight into what this storm is doing. It's only about a minute and a half long, but I think you'll get a good idea of how this storm is behaving. This is a silent video. There is no music and no definition by anybody but me. Look how that storm is churning out there. Look out the clouds as they move around. The outer bands of this storm are very dangerous. Look what we're seeing there. The outer bands of this storm are pulling added energy in over land now. Like I said, this storm has gotten over land. The outer bands of this storm have increased, and the tropical storm has gotten more dangerous. The eye of the storm is just barely offshore, and it will probably become a Category 1 hurricane. In other words, winds as strong as 75 miles per hour or greater. That will probably happen tonight. Look at the very dangerous part of this storm. Look at the oranges and dark oranges and yellows here. Those are the thunderstorms that are part of Tropical Storm Ophelia. These are the most dangerous. These are the most dangerous. These outer bands containing
grass-fed butter. This is why you feel
the outer bands of that storm contain the thunderstorms, and they can also spin off tornadoes. They can also spin off very powerful tornadoes, and that's what we expect to see as the storm continues to churn out there. We've also seen over in southern North Carolina winds of anywhere from 35 to 40 miles per hour. Like I said, this is a very dangerous storm. Ophelia is a formidable storm, and like I said, it has prompted the state of Virginia to call out a state of emergency. Ophelia is the 16th named storm of the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season. I only think we have like 5 or 6 more names out there. I think they said we'd have 21 names this season. This is the 16th. Tropical Storm Ophelia formed Friday into a tropical storm. It went from a tropical depression into a tropical storm Friday afternoon just off the southeast coast. A storm that promises to deliver a messy mix of heavy rain, strong winds, storm surges, and even possible tornadoes to much of the East Coast over the weekend. People in coastal areas should take this storm very seriously. This is going to be a nasty and, what I say, formidable storm. Tropical storm conditions started to erupt into a much larger storm in what forecasters saw on Wednesday and Thursday. Things really began to ramp up Friday afternoon along portions of the East Coast from North Carolina north into Virginia and beyond. According to the National Hurricane Center, there is also a danger of life-threatening storm surge, high surf, and rip currents, along with heavy rain across the entire mid-Atlantic Ocean and the East Coast, from North Carolina to New Jersey. North Carolina to New Jersey. Already, just on this slide alone, you can see this storm going upwards to New York and New Jersey. It's going to go up to Massachusetts and into Maryland this weekend. Southeastern Canada, you may also see remnants of this storm as well. According to the National Hurricane Center, Ophelia is likely to bring several inches of rain, which will be impacting outdoor events and NFL games throughout the entire east coast of the U.S. and southeastern Canada. Friday afternoon, the Hurricane Center said the center of Ophelia was about 185 miles south of Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. More than 7 million people are under tropical storm warnings as of this afternoon. Even though this storm is a tropical storm, this could very easily turn into a Category 1 hurricane this evening or later tonight. The water temperatures, like I said, along the coast are 18 degrees Celsius or 64 degrees Fahrenheit. The surface temperatures alone could make this storm ramp up as it churns into the coastal waters, and it could turn into a full-blown hurricane tonight. The National Hurricane Center said that the storm is expected to come into North Carolina either tonight or early Saturday morning. They're warning of life-threatening storm surges up from anywhere from 2 to 4 feet high along the coast. Rip currents. I'm also urging people that are on surfboards and such, stay off of the water. If you're on the water and you get caught in a rip current, I want you to paddle parallel to the shore. Paddle parallel to the shore until you get out of the rip, and then paddle into shore and get out of the water. Don't even chance your life. Don't do it. Life-threatening storm surge is possible along coastal areas and inland rivers, like I said. The National Hurricane Center warned of potential storm surge inundation of anywhere from 2 to 4 to 5 feet high in Pamlico and Albemarle Sounds, Chesapeake Bay and News Bay, Pamlico and James Rivers. Heavy rainfall could complicate matters, and Ophelia is forecast to produce anywhere from 3 to 5 inches of rainfall, with localized amounts up to 7 inches across eastern North Carolina and southeastern Virginia, with 2 to 4 inches through the mid-Atlantic and into the southern New England area. Does anybody have any questions? I know I've gone through this fast and furious, and I don't mean about the movie. I'm trying to move along to get you the information that you need to have. Does anybody have any questions? Is anyone in this chat live along the seashore? Does anybody in this chat live in the inundation areas along the coast of South North Carolina, upwards of Virginia, even going north into New York, Washington, D.C., up into New Jersey, and even up to Massachusetts and into Maryland? Does anybody have any questions? You guys are all saying hi together to each other, and that's all right. Folks, we are talking about something very real. If you're not familiar with it, you may die because of this storm. Persons located within these storm areas should all take necessary actions to prevent or protect life and property from rising water and the potential of other dangerous conditions, including winds, rain, and thunderstorms, and possibility of tornadoes. The warnings are this. When warnings are issued, I would advise everyone within the sound of my voice, promptly follow evacuation orders and other instructions from the local officials. Some of the worst impacts from the storm will be in eastern portions of Virginia, Maryland, and North Carolina. The National Weather Service Office published an ominous local forecast for potentially dangerous conditions throughout much of the region, including central and eastern Virginia, the lower Maryland eastern seashore, and the northeastern North Carolina, regardless of the storm's track. It's expected to bring a myriad of hazards that the Weather Service has been talking about. This includes the following potential impacts: dangerous high surf and seas. The worst marine conditions are expected over Saturday and into Sunday, with large near-shore breaking waves of 6 to 10 feet high that will result in beach erosion and high risk of rip currents. If you're on the beach and one of these breakers hits you, it will likely drag you out into the water. Stay out off the beaches. Stay away from the water's edge. Storm surge and coastal flooding is a real issue. Severe storm surge with possible significant impacts across eastern Virginia, northeastern North Carolina extend inland from the waterfront and shoreline, flooding homes and isolating neighborhoods. Moderate to major coastal flooding during high tides tonight and into Saturday. Very heavy rainfall, which will result in much flooding, and this may prompt evacuations and water rescues, with rivers and tributaries quickly becoming swollen with swift currents. Winds. Tropical storm force winds could down trees and power lines, and dangerous tornadic events are very possible. Heavy rainfall will get flooding going. It may prompt again evacuations and rescues. The tributaries into the rivers, they're just basically creeks, can be very swollen and turn into bigger, huge rivers and swift currents. Stay away on shore. Stay out of the water. A state of emergency has been declared earlier this afternoon by Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin. He declared a state of emergency this afternoon, issuing an executive order intended to ease response and recovery efforts. As this storm has organized and strengthened, and as it has become increasingly clear based on the latest forecasts that impacts to the Commonwealth of Virginia and North Carolina are very likely. Governor Youngkin said, quote, "We want to ensure that all communities, particularly those with the greatest anticipated impact, have the resources they need to respond and recover from the effects of this storm." The governor's encouraged residents to prepare an emergency kit and follow the weather forecast very closely. How many times in the past 4.5 years we've been on the air, how many times have we talked about emergency preparedness plans? How many times have we asked everyone to have an emergency preparedness kit? I talk about this day in and day out. This is exactly why. It seems like almost at least once a week we're having conditions in our own areas where each one of us live. And it doesn't matter whether we are in California, it doesn't matter whether we are in New Mexico, Alaska, Texas, South Dakota, Michigan, Minneapolis, Minnesota, over into Ohio, or anywhere. Anything can happen in your area and everyone knows it. We've had major train derailments that have caused major illness and huge loss of property. Please, folks, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have an emergency preparedness kit. Make sure you have emergency water storage. It's absolutely essential to save your lives. Hurricane Heather says, have a plan for any emergency. And how many times have I said that? Have a plan for any kind of emergency. It doesn't matter. If you don't understand what an emergency preparedness plan is, go into our website that's down in the top of our program description. Go over there in the file sharing area. There's a lot of information that we stored there. I could write a book. I put that information there earlier, 4 years ago, so everyone would be able to have that information. I could write a book about it. I could sell that book. But I'm trying to make sure that everyone has information to get saved from these situations. This is absolutely essential for your salvation, your temporal salvation anyway. Okay? Now, I want to welcome Don Patoka back here to the chat. He and his wife have been going through some things with her being in the hospital. I appreciate Don Patoka very much. He's a very, very dear friend of mine. So welcome home, Don. We appreciate you. We hope things with you and your wife are doing better. Okay, I want to ask some questions so you guys will have some answers. What is the difference between a tropical cyclone and a tropical storm? A tropical cyclone or a tropical storm, what's the difference? In the Atlantic Ocean, tropical depressions, tropical storms, and hurricanes are all kinds of tropical cyclones. That's because a tropical cyclone is a generic term for a low pressure system that can form over warm tropical seas with a warm water core. A warm water core, the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm. The closed center of circulation and organized thunderstorm activity. A tropical cyclone. a warm core, a closed center of circulation, and organized thunderstorm activity. Okay? Now here is how the different types of tropical cyclones are defined. A tropical depression. A tropical depression has maximum sustained surface winds of 38 miles per hour. That's what Ophelia was Wednesday and Thursday. A tropical storm is what Ophelia is today, with sustained surface winds of 39 miles per hour to 73 miles per hour. At this intensity, a storm name is likely. And that they knew what the next storm name was going to be, Ophelia, and that's why this storm is called Ophelia today. Now, how can these storms be dangerous? I was talking to Rebecca earlier today. She lives over near Fayetteville, North Carolina. They had wind walls, for lack of a better word, a wind wall, a wind shear condition. The wind shear conditions were bringing straight line winds straight out of the atmosphere down to the surface. Wind shear. Very strong wind shear. Wind traveling anywhere from 35 to 45 miles per hour. 35 to 45 miles per hour. That's a tropical storm wind. Tropical storm winds are anywhere from 39 to 73 miles per hour. And Ophelia is destined to become a hurricane, a Category 1 hurricane tonight. Now, a hurricane, a tropical storm that has reached the maximum sustained winds of at least 74 miles per hour. That is defined as a hurricane. 75 miles per hour or better. This is huge. This is only the center of the hurricane season. We still have October and November and into the first part of December before hurricane season will be over. This is just barely the beginning, and already we're into the 16th named storm. That's why this is so important. Okay? Again, I want you to be prepared. That's why we put this presentation together tonight. I want you all to be prepared. Now, besides that, I want to show you something. I'm going over here to the USGS map. We haven't showed this in a while. We have some good sized earthquakes here that we want to talk about tonight. A brand new earthquake that just happened. This is over near Niafu, Tonga. It's a 5.0 magnitude earthquake 22 miles southwest of Niafu, Tonga. Okay? This is near shore, within 22 miles ashore of Niafu, Tonga. For the most part, the water around the epicenter of these earthquakes absorbs most of the shock waves of the seismic waves of the earthquake. That being close ashore, Niafu, Tonga, the people on Niafu, Tonga have probably felt something over there, more than just a little vibration beneath their feet. That's pretty close ashore. South of there, let's say for just a second, this earthquake near Niafu, Tonga, just a few minutes ago, is 80 miles deep, down in the asthenosphere. This is not a tectonic plate earthquake. This is down in the asthenosphere where the plastic magma is. Okay? This is south of the Fiji Islands. This is a moderate 4.1. A moderate 4.1. However, this is a very deep earthquake. This is 316 miles deep. 316 miles deep, and I told you it's a 4.1. It's a 4.3. Sorry about that. A 4.3. As a result of this 4.3 deep quake, we probably are going to see another 5.0 magnitude earthquake come out of this earthquake today. As you know, deep earthquakes propagate stronger and more shallow earthquakes. They propagate babies, larger earthquakes. This earthquake in and of itself will propagate a 5.0 earthquake. Now, that's not the only one here. Right here, this is a 4.8, also south of the Fiji Islands. This is also 292 miles deep, a 4.8. This is going to propagate a 5.6 to 5.7 magnitude earthquake. A 5.6 to a 5.7, very large, stronger, shallower quake. Now, when I'm talking about propagation of quakes here, from deep quakes to shallower quakes, these earthquakes that are coming can either go west, where you see this other earthquake over here, near Vanuatu. This is a 5.4 near Ulri, Vanuatu. This is also a fairly shallow quake of being 25 miles deep. This 5.6, 5.7 quake, we're talking about propagating within the next 3 to 10 days. It's going to be at least as strong. This is 5.4. I believe we're going to see a 5.6 to 5.7 arise out of this earthquake down here in Tonga today. It's a 4.8. It could also go east. It could go east over here to the Eastern Islands here, west of Chile, or it could end up over here in Chile and or Argentina. We've seen that happen before. We've seen that happen a lot. It could also go north into the Hawaiian Islands, or north over into the Aleutian Islands, or into Alaska. We've also seen that happen. So we have this earthquake also over here in Vanuatu. Okay, this is a 5.4 shallow earthquake, 25 miles deep today, 17 miles west-northwest of Ulri, Vanuatu. This is a very strong earthquake. A 5.4 very large earthquake. Like I said, it's out in the open water. However, it's very close to Ulri, Vanuatu, which means those people over in Vanuatu probably felt a good majority of this shaking, at least moderate to large shaking here. This is the 4.4, or excuse me, a 5.4. They probably felt a 5.0 shaking. There may be injuries, there may be some property destruction in Vanuatu as a result of this earthquake today. Okay, let's go west. This is another 5.0 earthquake over here in Papua New Guinea. Folks, this is only 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Okay? 31 miles north-northwest of Rabaul, Papua New Guinea. Again, look where it's at. It's out here in open water. Most of the time, these smaller islands here are not occupied. But down here to the southwest is something else. I believe we do have some populations here in Papua New Guinea area. Okay? We may not hear of any damage estimates for a while, because like I said, some of these islands are unoccupied. And some of these areas are completely third world countries. So we may not hear from these areas for a while. But that's still a dangerous earthquake. Now, I'm going further over here into Indonesia. I can't believe that this agency still is doing what they're doing. This is a 5.8 earthquake near Kepulauan, Babar, Indonesia. This is a 5.8 very destructive earthquake. Yes, it's out here in the open water, but there's population centers to the north here. There's population centers over here to the northwest here. And yes, there's a volcano here, but there's people on land here. Okay? There's people everywhere here, guys. This is a very dangerous, very large 5.8 earthquake. 96 miles deep. Also down in the asthenosphere. The crust of our Earth, guys, is only anywhere from 39 miles deep to 69 miles deep. Okay? It's like a 1-hour drive from San Diego to Los Angeles, getting into southern LA. That's how far down this earthquake is. Not very far. An hour and a half, max 2-hour drive. It's down in the asthenosphere where the plastic magma is. This is not a tectonic plate earthquake. Okay? We go further west. This is near Labuan Bajo, Indonesia. This is east of Java, Indonesia. This is also a 4.4 moderate earthquake. This is 120 miles deep. 120 miles deep. This is out in the ocean. Okay? For the most part, the ocean waters absorbed the seismic signals from this quake. Probably nobody on land felt it. Okay? But it's very disappointing to me knowing that there's probably 25 other earthquakes here in Indonesia. Not just probably, I know that. There's 25 other earthquakes here in Indonesia that they're not telling us about. Most of those are tectonic earthquakes. There are 7 different plates in this area, in this region. 7 different plates, one subducting under the other here. One subducting under the other. That's mostly why we get these earthquakes. Let's go up here. This is the Philippines. Again, this is they're showing just one earthquake down here near Mindanao Island, Philippines. Okay, southwest of Sangay, the town of Sangay, Philippines. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake. This is a very deep earthquake. 357 miles deep. 357 miles deep. This is going to cause a 5.5 magnitude earthquake. This earthquake off the southwestern shores of Mindanao Island, Philippines, is going to cause a 5.5 magnitude earthquake. It could hit here in the Philippines. It could go south into Indonesia. It could go south from there all the way down into Australia. All the way down into Australia. It could also go west over here into Myanmar, Vietnam, Taiwan. It could. Now, speaking of Vietnam, this earthquake happened yesterday evening. Vietnam got hit with a moderate 4.6. a moderate 4.6. This is 10 kilometers deep. 6.2 miles, 10 kilometers deep here in Vietnam. Vietnam is not that much of a modernized country as yet. Most of this area is still third world country. These people are hurting. Yes, they're mostly under communist rule, but they don't have all the modern necessities like we do. So they probably may have seen some light property damage and their shanties and such destroyed by this moderate earthquake. They don't have all the homes and stuff like we do. Okay? Let's go north here. This earthquake is just barely north of Luzon, Philippines. This is a 4.5 earthquake, 21 miles deep, just north of Luzon, Philippines. This also is a tectonic plate earthquake. A tectonic plate earthquake. You can see where it's at. Right along this earthquake fault. You can see the red lines of this fault line. It's right along that trench there, going all the way up into Taiwan area. Now, they're not saying that we've had any earthquakes over here in Japan. That's a lie. There have been many earthquakes here in Japan. This earthquake here is in the Izu Islands region. This is a large 5.0 earthquake. This is also 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep. Okay? All this energy is coming from the south, guys. All this 5-point energy here, 5.0 energy, it's coming from down here in the Indonesia area. Okay? It's moving north. We have this earthquake here near Russia. This is on the outskirts of the Sea of Japan here. This is a 4.1 earthquake, 73 miles west-northwest of Sutsi, Japan. S-U-T-T-S-I, Sutsi, Japan. Out in the Sea of Japan, it's 136 miles deep. Okay? Look, it's following that earthquake fault here. It's falling right on top of that earthquake fault. Now, we don't see any more images of earthquakes around the Kamchatka Peninsula. But we go over here into the Aleutian Islands. This is a 3.8 near Adak, Alaska. 112 miles west-southwest of Adak, Alaska. It's a 3.8 small earthquake. A 3.8 small earthquake. There's other tremors over here as well. Let me point out just one of them. This is a microquake of 6.7. A 0.7 microquake. 25 miles northeast of Adak, Alaska. Okay? Let's further go east. We also have another minus 0.6, 47 miles northeast in Nikolsky, Alaska. We have a volcano here. A volcano. Okay? The reason they say it's a minus 0.6, it's above sea level near this volcano. Okay? A minus 0.6 microquake at this volcano. Not too many surprises there. Further east in Dutch Harbor, Alaska. This is also a minus 0.5 tremor microquake area. Look where it's at. Again on another volcano here. Another volcano. We go further east here into the Upper Peninsula actually the southern peninsula of Alaska. This is near Falls Pass, Alaska. A 1.1 tremor, another 1.3 tremor here, and folks, look what we're at. These are volcanoes, guys. Volcanoes. This one just north of there, a 0.4 microquake at a volcano. At a volcano. Then we go further east here. Okay? Right here, today. Today. This is a large earthquake over here southwest of Sandpoint, Alaska. Southwest of Sandpoint, Alaska. Okay? This is 27 miles deep, 27.5 miles deep. This one here is a 4.0 aftershock. Why are these earthquakes important? In this same area, guys, just during the last 2.5 years, we've had multiple very strong 6.5s, 6.8s, 7.7s, 7.5s, and 8.7 earthquakes. Okay? Stronger than this earthquake today. This was just a 5.0. Okay? It's out here in the North Pacific here. But we need to understand what has happened in the recent history here. This could be a foreshock. There is a 25% probability that this is a foreshock of something larger. Again, we have seen large earthquakes. 6.5, 6.8, 6.9, 7.2, 7.5, 7.7, 8.7 earthquakes here. Yes, this could be a foreshock. There's somewhat of a probability, a 25% probability, that this could be a foreshock of a much larger earthquake. But again, this is the second 5 that we've seen down here in the southern part of Alaska in the past, I want to say 72 hours. The other one's further down here in the Aleutian Islands. Now that seismic energy has traveled here to south of Sandpoint, Alaska. Okay? Over here to southern Kodiak, Alaska, we have a 3.4 here. 3.4 small earthquake. Right here is another 2.3. We cross over to a volcanic area near Old Ililama volcano. Again, we're seeing swarming activity going on here at Old Ililama volcano. Look at all these swarms here. Look at all these swarms. Old Ililama volcano could be getting ready to erupt again. They have said that Old Ililama volcano probably would not erupt, but we have seen steam coming from this volcano in recent days, recent weeks. This is not an inactive volcano. This is a very active volcano. And yes, it could erupt here. Okay, look at all these swarms here. I can zoom in here. Sometimes there'll only be 1 or 2 earthquakes, and other times there'll be 6 to 10 earthquakes here throughout this entire area. This is a minus 0.1. This is a 0.0 surface quake, believe it or not. They say it's a 0.0 surface quake, but it's 1.7 miles deep. There's no way it can be a surface quake. You go north of there, this is a 2.7 earthquake. It's still in the vicinity of the Old Ililama volcano. The Old Ililama volcano. To the northeast here, a minus 0.2. Minus meaning above sea level. Above sea level. But The origins of this earthquake are 22 miles deep. How can this be above sea level when it's 22 miles deep? Okay? Did they tell the truth? Obviously not. Over here near another volcano near Karluk, Alaska. Okay? Old Ililama volcano. 1.0 tremor here. Okay? And we continue to go north here. A 1.7 tremor there. I forgot to tell you about this. This is also near Karluk, Alaska. It's a 2.3. This is a 1.4 near Coconut, Alaska. 42 miles south of Coconut, Alaska. And we can go north here. We can go north. What do we have here? Right here. They say this is 31 miles west-northwest of Beluga. Can you say Mount Redoubt? Mount Redoubt. A 2.0 there. And a 1.4 here. We don't have any earthquakes around Anchorage right now, but north of there we do. This is Willow, Alaska, 1.3. We go north up into southern Denali here. Skeetna, Alaska, 1.2 here. And over here at Mount McKinley today. This just happened. This just barely happened today. Okay? A 1.4 tremor here at McKinley. They say this is 34 miles north of Petersville, Alaska. No, it's at Denali National Park, USGS. Get your heads out of your butts. Yes, I'm calling a spade a spade. Get your heads out of your butts, USGS, and tell the truth. Over here at northeastern Denali, this is a 1.1 that they're calling Central Alaska. 45 miles deep. 45 miles deep up here in northeastern Denali National Park. Interesting. We leave Denali National Park and go north. This is a 1.7 tremor up here. This is east of Lake Minnetonka, Alaska. We go north some more. This is northern Alaska. And actually, if the truth be known, this is central Alaska. This is not even northern Alaska. There's no earthquakes in northern Alaska. This is northern Alaska. This gray area here, you see, that is the Arctic Circle. The Arctic Circle, the tundra. Okay? There's nothing at the North Shore near Katavik, Alaska either. No earthquakes or tremors up here. However, let's go down into the Pacific Northwest. I just love the Pacific Northwest. Okay? Let's look what we have here. This is a 2.0 magnitude earthquake. This is near Long Branch, Washington. A minor earthquake. This is 6 miles west-northwest of Long Branch, Washington. This is 30 miles deep too. 30 miles deep here in what? The Cascadia subduction region. The Cascadia subduction region. This is the Puget Sound area. Okay? The Puget Sound area. We can go east. Almost directly east is Eastern Washington. Eastern Washington here. This is 0.6 microquake. 2 miles deep. Over here, guess what? We have an earthquake at Mount Rainier. Such a deal. But it's not just one earthquake. They're only telling us about one. And they're not even telling us that it's at Mount Rainier. They're telling us this is 12 miles east-northeast of Ashford, Washington. But you can see it's at the volcano. It's over here on the southwestern flank of Mount Rainier. A 0.9 1.0 tremor. And we know for a fact there's a bunch of tremors here, not just one. Okay? Southeast of there, this is, they say, near Packwood, Washington. Really? 11 miles northeast of Packwood, Washington? That's interesting. Over here, just northwest of Mount St. Helens, is a 1.6 tremor. 14 miles south of Morton, Washington. Jeez, it's incredible. Don Patokas over here in the chat says overload on caffeine, ready for battle. LOL, that's what. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Anyway, then we go down to Mount St. Helens, guys. I just love this. I really love this. They're calling this a 0.0 surface quake. This is 1.7 miles deep. How can this be a 0.0 surface quake when it's 1.7 miles deep? Come on, USGS, get it out of your butt. This is down underneath the summit of Mount St. Helens volcano. Down in the magma chamber of Mount St. Helens volcano. This one right here is all they say. I can't believe it. They're calling this 0.0 earthquakes. There's no way. This is 2.6 miles deep. Neither one of these seismic events could even be a surface quake. This is down in the magma chamber of this volcano. How stupid do they think we are? It's insane, guys. It really is. It's utter insanity. Now, I want to take you out into the ocean. This is over off the southeastern side of the Blanco fracture zone. The Blanco fracture zone. You can see the image here. You can see that red line. That's a Blanco fracture zone. It's in the Cascadia earthquake region. The Cascadia earthquake region. This is a 3.0 small earthquake over here in the Blanco fracture zone. We've had dozens of earthquakes here in this area in the recent past, within the last few months. We can go south, still in the Cascadia subduction region, down here, just west of Petrolia, California. Okay? This is a 2.4 earthquake. A 2.4 earthquake. It's just north of the San Andreas Fault here in the ocean just west of Petrolia, California. A 2.4 minor earthquake. 13 miles deep in the Cascadia subduction region. Over here on shore, or at the shore, is another 2.1 earthquake. Minor earthquakes here in this southern region. Northeast of there. This is Bayside, California. This is also a 2.4 earthquake. Minor earthquake. Minor earthquake. Now, I want to take you back over here to all these earthquakes here in California. Swarms of earthquakes still. This is Sierra City, California, a 0.7. Southeast of there, a 1.1. Further east of there, this is Nevada at 0.3. Back here in this area of Northern California, in these swarms of quakes, it's a 1.4. A 0.7. Mohawk Vista, California, a 0.5. and a 1.1 near Greenhorn, California. We keep seeing swarms of earthquakes in this region. When we have swarms of earthquakes, what does that usually mean? It usually means a larger earthquake is coming. A larger earthquake is coming. Now, we can go further north here. This is near East Shore, California, a 1.4 earthquake here. East Shore, what is this? What do you think this is it? Almanor, California. Almanor, California. It's a 1.4 tremor here. It's an aftershock of a 5.1 and 5.3 earthquake hit here several months back. Lake Almanor, California. This is a 1.4 tremor here. Okay? It's still rocking and rolling there. Okay? Whenever you have a large earthquake, you're going to have aftershocks for a while. We keep seeing aftershocks quite frequently at Lake Almanor because of those two large earthquakes. Okay? Then, where do you think we're going to go here? Where do you think we're going to go here? A lot of people have been asking me about earthquakes over here in the geysers region. In the geysers region. See all these earthquakes here? In the bottom center of this slide? Yes, indeed, these are earthquakes. These are tremors. Why do we have tremors here? Because man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of that lake, which is a volcano. That lake north of there is Clear Lake volcano. Man has drilled into the upper magma chambers of that volcano to harvest steam from the volcano to power turbines down here in this geysers area. Well, folks, whenever we have a drill point, and it doesn't matter whether we're trying to harvest steam from a volcano or we're trying to get oil and gas out of the ground, those man-made earthquake faults are just that. And when seismic energy hits those, it fractures the rock of the earthquake fault, which causes earth movement, doesn't it? That's why we get all these earthquakes down here in the geysers. This is a geothermal region. This is a very large geothermal region where they take that steam, bring it over here to the turbines to generate electricity here. This is the geysers geothermal facility. All over this area, guys, it's getting hit with earthquakes. That's because they drilled into that volcano to harvest steam. That's exactly what this is. And unfortunately, I can't get any closer than this to show you where this earthquake is. This earthquake is at, if you go over to my earthquake app, you can put it on your Android, you can put it on your iPhone, whatever. Right where this earthquake is sitting is a drill point. A drill point that leads perpendicular over here to that great big huge volcano. Okay? To the upper magma chambers to that big huge volcano. And yes, that volcano is an active volcano. An active volcano. South of San Francisco. I just love this place. South of San Francisco, this is Cupertino, California. Guess what? We're seeing some earthquakes swarming here. This is a 1.5 tremor. This is a 1.8 tremor. This is a 2.8 earthquake. Minor earthquake in Cupertino, California. Okay? We're seeing earthquakes and tremors hit here. What is the likelihood of these being force shocks? a 25% likelihood that these are foreshocks and that we could have a large earthquake here. Would not surprise me. Not one little bit. Look where they are. These folks or these earthquakes here are just north of the San Andreas Fault here, just south of San Francisco Bay. We can go over here, south of San Francisco Bay and east of this great big huge bay here. Another bay, Monterey Bay. This is a 0.9 microquake. This just happens to be on another earthquake fault. Okay? One of the largest earthquake faults in this region, the Hayward Fault. This is a very dangerous area because the Hayward Fault, just south of here, intersects with another earthquake fault, the Calaveras Fault. And the San Andreas Fault runs in parallel just past here as well. Not a very good place to be. Right next to three major earthquake faults. Now you don't see too many earthquakes down in this region right now today. This is near Ojai. We've been seeing some minor earthquakes and tremors here during the last few days here near Ojai, California. This is a 1.3 tremor here. This is 2 miles southeast of Ojai. Okay. Further north up here, we follow the Garlock Fault up here. This, folks, is Searles Valley. Searles Valley and Ridgecrest. We're starting to see quite a few swarms of earthquakes hitting this area again. Okay? And now they've frozen up this earthquake map. And I'll let this be for right now, because they're not showing us all the earthquakes anyway here in California. Heaven forbid they tell us what's going on. Okay? Now, I'm going to recycle this earthquake application of USGS. I want to go over to the New Madrid Fault. We haven't talked too much about the New Madrid Fault as of late. Why? Because there's been so much other things going on that we haven't had the time to talk about the New Madrid. Well, folks, tonight I'm taking the time to talk about the New Madrid. We've talked about earthquakes literally all over the place, all around the Ring of Fire here. Over here in Brazil, this is a 4.5 earthquake here in Brazil today, 137 miles deep. Just north of there, that 4.5, just north of there, this is a 4.9, 5.0, Central Peru. A 5.0 earthquake in Central Peru, 82 miles deep. We only have one earthquake that they're showing over here in northern Chile, Calama, Chile. They're showing a 4.5 moderate earthquake here. This is 29 miles deep. Folks, why am I showing you this? Because, folks, there are actually 30 earthquakes here in South America. 30 earthquakes here in South America. They're not showing but 3. Okay? Over here in Central America, Nicaragua, just off the coast. This is the Cocos Plate. On the Cocos Plate here, this is another 5.0 earthquake here, large earthquake, just off the coast of Nicaragua today. They're still not showing us any earthquakes down here in southern Mexico at all. There are about 40 small earthquakes and minor earthquakes and moderate earthquakes. About 4 moderates, about 20, I want to say about 20 small, 3.0, 3.9, and probably another 4 or 5 that are somewhere between 2.5 to 2.8. For a total of about 40 earthquakes here in this southern Mexico region. And again, they're not telling us about it. They're not telling us about it. Over here in Jamaica today. Hey man, how about Jamaica? Today in Jamaica they had a 4.3 moderate earthquake. Okay? 5 miles south of Buff Bay, Jamaica man. Okay? Why do we have this earthquake? North of Jamaica, what do we have? The Cayman Ridge earthquake zone. The Cayman Ridge earthquake zone. That's who dropped, or what dropped, that earthquake here in Jamaica. Okay? They're not showing any earthquakes, but there are over here in the Dominican Republic. Over here in southwestern Puerto Rico, we have plenty of earthquakes. These are aftershocks of an 8.0 and 8.4 earthquake that happened here 4 years ago. December 27th and December 30th, 4 years ago. This is a 2.2. This is a 2.4. This earthquake here is a 2.6. And right here, just offshore here, is a 2.4 near Guanica, Puerto Rico. Okay? Over here in northeastern Puerto Rico, we have a 1.1. 2 miles east-northeast of Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. Now, folks, look where it's at. It's in a very populated area. A 3.3 earthquake. In a very populated area. It looks to me like it's underneath a highway system. That looks to be under a highway system over here near Guaynabo, Puerto Rico. A very intensely populated area over here. Okay? Just so you know. I want to go over here to Texas. Good old Texas. I'm going to show you some earthquakes in Texas. I'm going to show you a lot of earthquakes over on the New Madrid Fault. Okay? Over here in southwestern Texas. Okay? We have a small minor cache of quakes. This is 1.9, 2.0. This is a 2.0. And this is also a 2.0. These are over here in southwestern Texas. Look where these earthquakes are. I can't get any closer than this. These are over in oil and gas region. Look at the pumping region here. All those plots are oil and gas pumping plots. Okay? They're oil and gas earthquakes. All of them. All of them. We go northeast. This is in Malaga, New Mexico. A 1.7 tremor. 4.2 miles deep. Look where it's located. Folks, this earthquake is located next to an oil and gas region here. Okay? If it's within 6 to 10 miles of the pumping location, it's a pumping oil and gas quake. Okay? 1.7 tremor over here. All right? We go northeast of there. This, they say, is also New Mexico. It's a 3.5 earthquake. 5 miles deep. 5 miles deep. Okay? Oil and gas quakes could be as much as 6 to 10 miles deep. Now, I don't see any oil and gas pumping operations here. But again, this is probably an old map of USGS. There may be oil and gas here that we don't know about. This also could be a tectonic earthquake. Okay? This is in the region where we have earthquakes coming down out of the Rocky Mountains. Earthquakes coming down out of Canada and Alaska, coming down through the Rocky Mountains and coming down here. Okay, the edge of the plate. The edge of the North American plate. It comes down here and then it goes up here. This is Hermleigh, Texas. We have a 4.0 earthquake here in Hermleigh, Texas today. 4 miles northeast of Hermleigh, Texas. Now I'm going to zoom in here to show you what this is. Okay? I believe we have oil and gas quakes again. Anywhere from 6 to 10 miles away, it's an oil and gas quake, and I will bet you that's what it is. We have a good oil and gas pumping operation here. Anytime we have a huge pot of water here, a pot of water which is treated sewage that's injected down into the rock strata base underneath that pump, we pump oil and gas out of there. Okay? That's what's going on there, and I believe this is an oil and gas quake. Hermleigh, Texas. Okay? Then we go south here. This is Falls City, Texas. We've had several earthquakes here this year near Falls City, Texas. This is 9 miles east-northeast of Falls City, Texas. What do we have here? You can already see this. This is an oil and gas quake. A 2.2 magnitude earthquake near an oil and gas pump. Okay? That oil and gas pump is right there. Several other pumping operations almost directly south of there. This is a minor earthquake, a 2.2 minor earthquake near Falls City, Texas, in an oil and gas pumping area. Okay? That's why we have those earthquakes. The seismic activity seeks out those earthquake faults. Man-made or natural faults seeks out those faults, and we have the shaking causing earth tremors to destroy the rock, which causes earth movement, which causes the earthquake. Okay? Now, we're back here in the New Madrid Fault area. Unfortunately, USGS is not going to claim any knowledge of any earthquakes here, to their detriment. There are bunches of tremors and earthquakes all throughout this region, from the Great Lakes south down here to the Gulf of Mexico. All over this region here. Okay? USGS does not lay claim to any earthquakes here in the Canary Islands today. No earthquakes laying claim here to Spain or Morocco. Yes, we have a ton of earthquakes here in Morocco. Here in France and Germany and Austria and Italy down here, Croatia, Slovenia, Greece, Turkey, all kinds of earthquakes throughout this area, but they don't want to talk to us about it. Heaven forbid they tell us what's going on. Jammu, Afghanistan, we have a 4.4 moderate quake, 137 miles deep. Up here in Russia, Mongolia, a 4.3 earthquake here, 6.4 miles deep. But again, they don't want to tell us what's going on in Europe, do they? I'm showing you the New Madrid Fault on the side of the USGS. They don't show us anything, do they? What a bunch of garbage. What a bunch of garbage. What I'm going to show you now are a series of earthquakes here. This is Truman, Arkansas. This is over on the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. Truman, Arkansas. This is this morning. Look at the earthquakes and tremors. Up here early this morning, folks, just after midnight. Look at that huge tremor there. Look at that huge tremor. 1.4, 1.5 tremor, but it lasted nearly 10 minutes. And if you want to know the truth, it probably lasted 15 total minutes, considering we have that huge, long body wave. Then just after 2:30 this morning, or excuse me, just before 2:30 this morning, I'm sorry. Okay? This happened at 2:27 a.m. this morning. We had a bunch of tremors. Very tiny tremors, but bunches of them. Okay? 1.1, 1.2, maybe 1.3 tremors. That lasted for about 2.5 minutes. Then, after 2:30 this morning, what do we have? More tremors. 1.4, 1.5 tremors. 1.6, 1.7 tremors. Then, after about 2:33 this morning, we have 2.0 earthquakes. Minor 2.0 earthquakes, and then we get back to tremors for another 10 minutes after that. So we basically had 15 minutes worth of tremors. From 2:27 on over here to 2:42, 2:43 a.m. this morning. A half hour worth of tremors. And then the tremors go on going here. Then we start having some earthquakes about 10, what would this be, 10:56 this morning. Okay? 2.8, 2.9 earthquakes. 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes. Look how long this tremor and earthquake season lasted here. Okay? It lasted over here until 11 a.m. here. 11 a.m. we still had tremors, don't we? For another 4 minutes after that. So we had about a sequence of 10 minutes where we had tremors and 2.4, 2.5 earthquakes. Then they hit again just after 11:15. This time it was only 1.3, 1.4 tremors. But those tremors lasted 4 and 5 minutes. Okay? Truman, Arkansas. Truman, Arkansas, guys. Let's go north of there to Marktree, Arkansas. Look at this. Look at this. We had a bunch of tremors that turned into 3.0 earthquakes. And look at the earthquake sequence here. The earthquakes up at the top here are just after 12:15 this morning. They start about 12:17 this morning and go on for about 2.5 minutes. Then they continue on a secondary wave for another minute or so, and then it turns into a body wave. So folks, we probably had 3.5 earthquakes here. No, they didn't cut the bottom and the top off here. The top of it went off the paper, and I'm just saying this is probably a 3.5 earthquake. Now the second earthquake that we see here in the green here is just after 2, let's see here, 46, 47, 48, 49, 2:50 this morning. Just prior to 2:50 this morning, for 2 minutes, we had a bunch of tremors. Those tremors turned into earthquakes. 2.8, 2.9, 3.0 plus earthquakes. They cut the top and the bottom of this earthquake sequence off, so we don't know exactly how strong it is. But This seismic sequence lasted for about 3 minutes, off and on for 3 minutes. 3.4, 3.5 earthquakes for 3 minutes. And you can see the other tremors and earthquakes all throughout this seismogram here at Madrid, Arkansas this morning. Madrid, Arkansas this afternoon quieted down a little bit, but we still had some earthquake activity here, as you see this afternoon. Earthquakes are still hitting all over this area here on the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. Let's take you over to Little Rock, Arkansas. Riverdale, Arkansas, just outside of Little Rock. Look what we have here. We've been watching this area for some time. A few weeks ago we had some minor tremors here. A lot of minor tremors. Then we had some 2.0 earthquakes. And now it looks like Little Rock, Arkansas got hit with some small earthquakes. Just after 10:15 this morning, 10:45, actually 10:30 this morning, 10:15 this morning, 10:30 this morning, and again about 11:30 and 11:45 this morning. Seismograms don't lie. So Little Rock has gotten hit, hasn't they? Folks, this is real. This is real. We don't change the seismograms. USGS and these agencies do. Tyronza, Arkansas, further south in Arkansas there. Still, along the crazy New Madrid seismic zone. Excuse me. Usually in Tyronza, Arkansas, we don't see full-blown earthquakes, do we? We usually see down here in Tyronza tremors. But here we clearly see larger earthquakes. Again, this second one here that you see in Tyronza here, just after 2:48, 2:50 this morning, is at least a 3.0 earthquake. They cut off the top and the bottom of it. It's a pretty large earthquake sequence here. Plenty of earthquakes to go around on the New Madrid Fault, don't you think? All kinds of them. All kinds of them, guys. How about the Ozark Folk Center in Arkansas? Look at this. All we see for the most part is tremors here, but this morning after about 7:45, we see some small tremors. About 5:48 this morning, we had some other small tremors. So folks, we see some minor earthquakes, we see some tremors here. This is an Ozark Folk Center in west central Arkansas. West central Arkansas. This is pretty far west of the New Madrid Fault. That's really interesting. That's real interesting. Let's go over to Amarillo, Texas. For those of you that were here with me following my trek from Utah, northern Utah, over here to North Carolina, you know I stopped at the Quality Inn in Amarillo. While I was at the Quality Inn about 4 o'clock in the afternoon that day in May, we had a minor tremor hit. I felt it. I was leaning up against the desk in the hotel room. The earth moved. Well, folks, let me show you this. This is this afternoon in Amarillo, Texas. This is at 3:17 this afternoon. Just before 3:17, we had some tremors going on. Just after 3:17, we have a 3.0 earthquake. I showed you the USGS map, didn't I? They did not identify that earthquake here in Amarillo, but you clearly see it here on the seismogram. A small 3.0 earthquake, possibly upwards of a 3.2, 3.2 earthquake here in Amarillo. Now, off to the right of that main earthquake. Yes, we had some shaking going on for several seconds, but off to the right of that, we have a secondary wave. That secondary wave lasted over a minute. You can see the seismic waves going out to the right here. It's not typical that it happens in this fashion, because usually we see like a triangle effect happen that shows a secondary wave. This one diminishes and then it grows again and diminishes again into a body wave. So this earthquake here, the total time it elapsed or lasted was like 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. The major shaking stopped after several seconds, but the ground continued to shake here in Amarillo, Texas for probably close to 2 minutes. Okay? Unreal. Unreal. Good old Amarillo. Well, folks, on the east side of Texas, we have another town called Nacogdoches. Actually, Nacogdoches is also a county in Texas. But here at Nacogdoches, Texas, we're seeing some tremors here, don't we? And we're also seeing some earthquakes. You can clearly see these tremors here at Nacogdoches this morning. Just after 7 a.m. this morning. Continuing at 7:15. And again after 11 o'clock this morning. Just some minor tremors. Nacogdoches, Texas. I have a dear friend of mine from Nacogdoches, Texas. He was the police academy director for my police department. A great man. I looked up to him. He liked to tease me a lot. He liked to tease me a lot. Now, like I said, the entire New Madrid fault is shaking. Portageville, Missouri, look at this. Portageville, Missouri this afternoon, look at that. These are 3.0 earthquakes, guys. The green line is just after 12:45. The black line beneath that over here on the right is 120, or excuse me, not 128. This would be about 1:14 this afternoon. 1:14 this afternoon was the beginning of a 3.0 earthquake. And that 3.0 earthquake lasted just about 2 minutes. From about 1:14 and a half to about 1:16 p.m. this afternoon. And then the secondary wave lasted about 3 minutes. So this may have actually been a larger earthquake than it was. Because when we see a secondary wave lasting that long, it usually means that that earthquake was larger than they're showing us here. So this seismogram must have had the seismograph turned down on it. It's not showing us reliable data. This could have been a 4.0 earthquake here. A 4.0 earthquake here in Portageville, Missouri. It won't be the first time we've seen a good-sized earthquake in this area. It happens, guys. It happens all over the place. Now, I'm going to go up into Indiana now. I want to show you a couple seismograms up here in Indiana. This is New Harmony, Indiana. Look at the earth shake here. These are all tremors, by the way. These are all tremors. This is the northern part of the New Madrid Fault. You might not see or feel those earthquakes, that seismic energy in that area. They're just very minor tremors. But it's unnerving nonetheless. They're ongoing tremors happening and lasting a long time period. Literally all day. All day. What would happen to you, perchance, that you were in some of these tremors yourself? You might not feel them, but you feel something going on. You definitely feel something going on. Your day's not just right. Something doesn't feel good here. Okay? Long duration tremors here in Indiana. Evanston, Indiana here, look at this. They're not quite large tremors here. These are minor tremors here at Evansville, Indiana. The seismograph is in southern Indiana University in Evansville. Okay? All we're seeing here are a bunch of tremors and one 2.0 earthquake just after 2:50 a.m. this morning. One 2.0 earthquake and the rest are tremors here at Evansville, Indiana, at the university there. They're happening, guys. The entire New Madrid Fault is moving north to south. I looked for earthquakes in Ohio today and I couldn't find them. But I know they're there. Why are we getting earthquakes on the New Madrid Fault anyway? Can anybody tell me why we are getting earthquakes on the New Madrid? Because we have seismic energy crossing the entire North American continent from the west. So that seismic energy is pushing on seismic energy across the entire plate. So we see that happening. We also know for a fact what's going on in the Atlantic Ocean. The Atlantic plate from the center of the Atlantic Ocean, remember we talked about the Atlantic Ridge out there? The northern Atlantic Ridge? Well, the Atlantic Ridge goes from way far north of Svalbard up in the North Sea to way down south into the South Sandwich Islands. Okay? So the Atlantic plate is expanding itself. The Atlantic plate is expanding itself, pushing east and west. It's pushing east into North Africa and into Europe. It's pushing west over into the North American continent, Canada and the United States. Canada and the United States. As a result, we have a lot of pressure, putting pressure on the pneumatic fault from the east as well. That is what is going on with the pneumatic fault. That's why we're seeing those earthquakes. But folks, what we don't see, what many people don't see because they do not show the seismic energy on the map. What we're not seeing is all the energy coming from the east pressing on the pneumatic fault. What am I talking about? Let's go over to Virginia. First off, I'm going to Mineral, Virginia today. Mineral, Virginia, we show some earthquakes and tremors, don't we? Over on the far right side here, this is after, let's see, 11, 10, 9, 8, about 8:28 this morning. This is either a 2.9, 3.0 earthquake, or even maybe a 3.1, 3.2 earthquake. This morning, right here. Mineral, Virginia. And you can see the other tremors during the morning here. Okay? Mineral, Virginia this morning. And that's not all, folks. There's more. How about Accomack, Virginia? Look at this. Tremors and 2.0 earthquakes literally all day long. All afternoon long. This is the most crazy and absurd seismogram that I've seen showing continuous earthquakes. This is not continuous tremors for the most part. This is earthquakes. 2.0, 2.2, 2.3 earthquakes here. Yes, there's probably some tremors mixed in here too. But look how long this seismic activity is lasting. I'm looking mostly at the bottom of this seismogram here, what's been recorded this afternoon. Accomack, Virginia. Again, the Atlantic plate is pushing the North American continent in the south-southwesterly direction. But it doesn't stop. I have a sales call just came in. I just ignored it. Folks, how about in North Carolina? Bolivia, North Carolina today. Look at this. The top of this seismogram was midnight. So down here, just after 9 a.m. this morning, we started seeing some tremors and earthquakes. Prior to that, we had some 1.0 tremors, microquakes. Then about 9 a.m. this morning, all heck broke loose. Larger tremors and larger earthquakes here, even up into a 3.0 earthquake that happened after 10:17 this morning. Another 3.0 earthquake this morning here in Bolivia, North Carolina. It's interesting, huh? No, it's crazy. Let me show you Roper, North Carolina this afternoon. Look at this. Almost exactly looking like Virginia, didn't it? Looks similar to what we have at Accomack, Virginia. It is different. Here we have tremors and minor earthquakes here. Literally happening all day long. This is all afternoon long, and this morning was just as bad. Okay? This is Roper, North Carolina. Usually we get a few tremors, some minor earthquakes here and there. That is constant shaking here in Roper, North Carolina. Unheard of. Literally unheard of, guys. Let's drop down to Kings Mountain, Blacksburg, South Carolina. Look at this. Again, this is this afternoon. Look at all these tremors and earthquakes here. Tremors and 2.3, 2.4 earthquakes. Blacksburg, South Carolina. Kings Mountain. It's a volcano, guys. It's a volcano. I was astounded when I went searching for information. Let's go west to Tennessee. I want to show you this. This is Ridgely, Tennessee. We have a federal penitentiary in Tennessee. Here. It houses the seismograph that recorded this information. We're seeing a bunch of tremors here and close to 2.0 earthquakes. Close. These are all tremors here. Yes, we've had 2.0, 2.9 earthquakes here at Tiptonville, Tennessee. Ridgely, Tennessee. Okay? This is over on the eastern side of the New Madrid Fault. So this energy is actually coming from the Atlantic Plate, pushing on the North American Plate in a southwesterly direction. This is what's going on. Okay? This is what's going on. Folks, in years past, we did not see much of any of this information. It did not exist. All we had was 1.2, 1.7, 2.5, 2.7 earthquakes. Tremors and minor earthquakes. That's all we had up until about 2 years ago. Then things changed. Things definitely changed. I told you then, when we started getting more earthquakes and tremors, I said we'd start talking about it more often, and we have. We were getting constant 2s and 3s all over the New Madrid Fault, and in some cases over at Barker Cemetery. Did I show you Barker Cemetery? I'm not sure if I did or not. Let's see. Okay, we got to show you this. I skipped this, I'm sorry. This is Barker Cemetery in Missouri. Look at this. When we first started covering earthquakes and tremors here in Missouri, all that was here were just tremors. Nothing bigger than a tremor, 2.0, 2.5 tremor at best. Now we're seeing 2.8, 2.9, and I even believe a 3.0 earthquake here today. Look at all these earthquakes here. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 earthquakes here. The rest are tremors. Barker Cemetery, Missouri. Okay? Before it was just tremors, nothing but tremors. Now we're having 2.0 and large earthquakes. The Atlantic Plate is pushing the North American Plate in a southwesterly direction. putting more pressure on the New Madrid Fault. From the west, we have seismic energy leaving the Pacific, with the Pacific plate dropping down underneath the North American plate, causing earthquakes on the west coast, and that seismic energy pushing eastward to the New Madrid Fault. That's why we are getting these earthquakes again. I believe in my heart of hearts that the New Madrid Fault, sometime within the next 5 to 10 years, and I don't think it's going to be that long. It might be as possibly as long as 2 years before we have a major event over on the New Madrid Fault. I'm talking a 7.0 earthquake on the New Madrid Fault. A 7.0 plus earthquake. We believe that the New Madrid earthquake was, from the first time of recorded history, at least a 7.2 earthquake. It stopped the Mississippi River from flowing. It actually flowed backwards for 7 minutes, creating the Reelfoot Lake. The Reelfoot Lake over there in Tennessee. Filled the Reelfoot Lake full of water from the Mississippi River. The shaking lasted for a very long time. People that were living in that barren, what is now a lake bed, drowned from the water, filling what is now the Reelfoot Lake. A few years back, I spoke with emergency managers up and down the entire New Madrid Fault, from Louisiana, from Tennessee and Kentucky, Ohio, Oklahoma, Missouri, Arkansas. I spoke to them and they all told me the same story. How people in their community tried to flee. Some of them were able to get away from the shaking and survive. Others did not survive and were killed by falling timber in their homes and small buildings that they had there. The area was lightly populated at the time, very lightly populated. Nothing like we have now. Back then they had horse and buggy trails, horse and cow paths, going north and south, east and west throughout that whole area. They had horse ferries that ferried people and animals across the Mississippi River, and goods and services across the Mississippi River. Some of those boats ran aground when the Mississippi River stopped flowing and filled the lake. Others were destroyed. A lot of people lost their lives, but even then, the area was lightly populated with those horse and buggy paths, small homes and tiny businesses. Now that whole area north to south all the way to Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, it's highly populated. The next time the New Madrid Fault erupts, starts shaking, thousands of people are going to be injured. Thousands of people are going to die as a result of that major earthquake. It's said to be going anywhere from a 7.1 to an 8.0 earthquake. That's what they believe the strength of this earthquake is going to be this next time it hits. I'm trying to give you all a heads up about what we see and what's happening. I'm trying to give you a heads up so you can be ready. We've asked all of you to be prepared, to have a preparedness kit. to write an emergency preparedness plan, to have water, have a way to get water. We've asked everybody to plant survival gardens when you can. Even if you can, to raise your own vegetables in your homes if it's too cold outside. And when it's warm enough, to plant them outside. I have even been doing that here at my home with planter boxes out on my patio. And next summer I'm going to do a lot more than that. I'm not asking you to do something that I'm not willing to do. I'm asking all of you to make sure you have some kind of camping gear just in case your home where you live is destroyed. You can't live in your home. You also might not be able to bug out. You might almost have to fight the elements, whether it be rain or winter, snow, or harsh conditions. Do you have camping equipment, tents, sleeping bags, a way to build a fire to cook with, cooking utensils? If you have to bug out, you might have to have those same things. All I'm saying is you need to get that equipment and get it now. Some of that equipment you might have in your home. I don't want anybody to go out and spend large sums of money that they don't have. Do not go out and put things on credit. Credit is your worst enemy. Credit is your worst enemy. If necessary, barter services for product that you might need. I've asked people to make sure you have in your food storage food that you can eat for months. Start off with 3 months, 4 months worth of food and water. Work your way up to 6 months worth of food and water. Once you get 6 months, work towards a year's supply, and then a 2 years supply of food and water, both from your garden and whatever you can buy. Things are getting really tight. Excuse me. I have seen bare shelves again. Bare shelves in dairies. I've seen bare shelves in meat departments. They're cutting back on the amount of meat that we can consume because the powers that be don't want us to have that beef. They don't want us to have that meat. They don't want us to have the dairy. First, they blamed farting cows for passing CO2 gas. Blaming cows for passing gas. Yet it has nothing to do with cows. It has nothing to do with us. Even our cars don't put out enough CO2 to be responsible for what they call global warming. Global warming and climate change does not exist. Don't believe those leftist communist liars. They're trying to control you. Don't believe that. I'm asking you to stockpile some food. They don't like the word stockpile, so I use food storage. Folks, you need to do it. You need to do it now. Every day that we hesitate to do it is one day later that we're not going to be able to have it. In your emergency supply kits, I would ask you that you have all your documents, copies of documents, insurance paperwork, your vaccine paperwork, shots, and medical documents that you might need for each member of your family. Your car insurance, home insurance, your health insurance, life insurance documents, all those, have copies of those in your preparedness kit. In case of a fire or a flood, you can grab your preparedness kit and be gone, and have all the things that you need to survive whatever happens. In your survival kit, I would also like you to save some cash. If you have ATM cards, the power might be down. You're not going to be able to get any money out of your banks. The banks are going to be shut down. More and more banks are shutting down. I would ask all of you to get out of your banks. Go to credit unions. That is a better way to make your money last. Banks are shutting down right and left as we speak. Okay? Penny Simmons says, my supplies got loaded due to inflation. I understand that. What used to buy you $50 worth of groceries now costs you $170 for that same amount of groceries. That's why I'm asking everybody as much as they can to grow their own food and barter for their food. If you don't know how to can, you don't want to know how to can, maybe you have something that somebody else needs who has the ability to can. Or maybe you have a little bit of money where you could buy canned food from somebody that does can. Or find like-minded people where you share your ideas, you share your strengths, you share things together so you'll be able to survive. Working together to survive. Like-minded people. That's one of the reasons we have this program, why I encourage everybody here on chat to talk to each other. Get to know each other, especially find out if your neighbors are close to each other so you can help each other during an emergency. You may need that help and they may need you. Folks, things are not getting any better, they're actually getting worse. Okay? At the beginning of this program, somebody said that the Federal Drug Administration is closing down Berkey water purifiers. If that's the case, I've not heard anything, and yes, I will go and investigate that. If they're doing it, it's just one more thing to control all of us. They know our water supply is becoming contaminated, or already is. And they don't want us to have the purification methods to last when the waters are either turned off or too dangerous to drink. Folks, it's happening. It's happening. Take those efforts that you can and make sure that you have the things that you need. My dear friend up in Eastern Canada, Richard Smith, is here, and he says he knows how to garden. He's good at gardening. He says it's just a shame I can't get anything to grow. Been there, done that. But folks, I have never raised beans before now. Well, I can't say never. A long time ago I raised beans. One of my food gardening buckets out here, I put beans and peas in, and guess what? I have beans and peas today in my refrigerator that I grew. Beans and peas that I grew. I've had tomatoes from my harvest out on my patio. I had a great supply of strawberries this year. Because I grew strawberries, I'm going to continue to grow strawberries. I'm going to put more pots and stuff out to grow more vegetables next year. I encourage all of you to do the same. Space Force Al says, evil has been unleashed. Yes, it has, in a huge way. Please get the things that you need now. It's becoming very important for your own temporal salvation. You need to help yourself. And helping yourself, you might be able to help somebody else, and they can help you. Do it now, brothers and sisters. Do it now. Now, someone showed me earlier a scripture. And I want to talk about the scriptures now. In the closing moments of the show, I usually have a devotional. And that's what I'm going to talk about. This comes from Deuteronomy chapter 28. In Deuteronomy in the Old Testament, chapter 28, it's talking about the Israeli people. If Israel is obedient, they shall be blessed temporally and spiritually. If disobedient, they will be cursed, smitten, and destroyed. Diseases, plagues, and oppression shall come upon them. They shall serve false gods and become a byword among all nations. Fierce nations shall enslave them. They shall eat their own children and be scattered among all nations. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe and to do all his commandments which I command thee this day, that the Lord thy God will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. This is a promise that the Lord gave to the children of Israel. Remember these things called covenants, promises between us and the Lord? The Lord has been putting promises out, asking his people to obey his commandments for a very long time, thousands of years. And all these blessings shall come unto thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God. Blessed shalt thou be in the city, and blessed shalt thou be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, and the fruit of thy ground, and the fruit of thy cattle, and the increase of thy kind, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall be thy basket and thy store. Blessed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and blessed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And the Lord shall cause thine enemies that rise up against thee to be smitten before thy face. They shall come out against thee one way, and flee before thee 7 ways. The Lord shall command the blessing upon thee in thy stone houses, and in all thou hast settled thine hand unto, and he shall bless thee in the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. And the Lord shall establish thee an holy people. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself. How many times have we talked about standing in holy places? Being holy ourselves, obeying the commandments, obeying the laws of the land. And yes, I understand there's some laws that we should not have to obey, some laws that could lead to our detriment. But we're talking about obeying the Word of God. The Lord shall establish thee a holy people unto himself, as he hath sworn unto thee. If thou shalt keep the commandments of the Lord thy God, and walk in his ways. He has specifically given us direction here. Verse 10. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of the Lord, and they shall be afraid of thee. And the Lord shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, and in the fruit of thy cattle, and the fruit of thy ground, and in the land. And the Lord sware unto thy fathers to give thee. The Lord shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven to give the rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand, and thou shalt lend unto many nations, thou shalt not borrow. Thou shalt not borrow. And the Lord shall make thee the head and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only, and thou shalt not be beneath. If thou hearken unto the commandments of the Lord thy God, which I command thee this day, to observe and to do them, that thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt, and hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field. Cursed shall be thy basket and thy store. Cursed shall be the fruit of thy body and the fruit of the land, and the increase of thy kind and the flocks of thy sheep. Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out. And the Lord shall send upon thee a cursing, a vexation, and rebuke in all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou shalt be destroyed. Until thou shalt be destroyed. Until thou perish quickly, because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. The Lord shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee, until he cometh from off the land, whether thou goest to possess it. The Lord shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew. They shall pursue thee until thou perish. And thy heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron. The Lord shall make the rain of thy land powder and dust. From heaven shall come down upon thee until thou be destroyed. The Lord shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. And I could go on. I could go on. What is the Lord telling us? The wickedness of the world is here. The wickedness of the world is upon us now. We've seen the evil of the destroyer come upon us in the last few years. You saw what it did, didn't you? And when we won that battle, they didn't want to admit that they had to give up. They didn't want to admit that they lost that battle, because we have all come to the knowledge that they lied to us. They deceived us. They killed our families and our friends. They destroyed us. Now, I hope that maybe we have learned a lesson. A long lesson. A hard lesson. Let us not let it happen again. Let's not let that not happen again. Brothers and sisters, this is Emergency Management Associates. You all are associates. We are trying to help and teach each other how to live and how to prosper. That's what we're talking about tonight. From the time we talked about Ophelia, which is hitting the east coast of the United States as we speak, we've been telling you and all of us how to get through it, how to live. Hearken unto the voice of the Lord, brothers and sisters. Hearken unto the voice of the Lord. For once, do what the Lord has commanded us. Do what the Lord has commanded us to do. For as the scripture reads, for the Lord giveth no commandment unto the children of men, save he prepare a way for them to accomplish the things which he hath commanded them. He has given us a way. He's given us blessings. He's given us promises. It's up to us to follow him. It's up to us to be organized. It's up to us to teach our family members and those we love about Jesus Christ, about hearkening unto his gospel principles, and to make sure that we are all prepared to stand up against those that are hell-bent on destroying us. Yes, to stand up against them in whatever way possible. Again, this is Emergency Preparedness Month, and that's what we've been talking about. We talk about emergency preparedness almost every day on this program in some way, shape, or form. I'm asking you all to be prepared. Before you leave today, please give us a thumbs up if you have enjoyed any part of our program today. As I encourage you all to do, don't just stay here for 15 minutes and leave, or 10 minutes and leave. Stay here for a good share of the program, if not the whole program. This whole program will benefit you, your families, and all those that you love. Stay here for the entire program as much as possible. Brothers and sisters, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe to this program. It will benefit you and your families a great deal. Check and make sure that you are subscribed to this program. YouTube keeps unsubscribing people. Check your subscriptions once or twice a week at least. If you're unsubscribed, resubscribe immediately. Some of you don't get notified when we come on the air. That's because YouTube doesn't want to do it. If you unsubscribe and resubscribe immediately after, go and click on that elusive tiny little bell icon and click on it. When you click on it, a drop-down menu of 3 items is going to come up. Click on the word ALL. ALL, the word all. That should get you notified when we come on the air. You may have to do that once or twice a week to be able to fight the YouTube crap. Be advised, if you never see me again here on YouTube, make sure you go over to that Rumble page. Rumble. Because if I ever leave YouTube again, I will go and broadcast on Rumble. Emergency Management Associates on Rumble. I may do an occasional program there just to put something there. But folks, I am very serious about this. Things are getting harder and harder. Things are going to be really bad very soon. I can feel it. So can you. Please, folks, do what we've asked you to do. Take heed of the devotional that we read directly out of the scriptures tonight. It's all about us. It's all about us. Share this program with your loved ones, your family and extended family, your neighbors and your friends, your social media contacts, and your people you work with. Everybody needs to hear what we have to say on this channel. And the more people we get here, the better. I will be conducting interviews more and more with other people so you can get more and more information to use to help you. That's the whole point of this program. I love you all more than you'll ever know. I've done nothing but try to bring you the gospel of Jesus Christ. I've done nothing more than to teach you truths and show you evidence. I've done nothing more than us to try to help other people. Never forget the people of Maui. Call and write your senators and congressmen and ask them to immediately investigate the government of Hawaii and the government of Maui. Heads need to roll. If you have the ability to contact attorneys, personal injury attorneys, or people that will stand up to the hellions in Hawaii to get the people the things that they need, contact those attorneys and get them the help that they need. God bless those survivors on Maui. We'll be continuing talking about those people in the future. God bless each and every one of them. Now, folks, I know I've gone way over time. Again, please give us a thumbs up on your way out if you have not already done so. I love you. I care about you. Tomorrow night, we're going to try to take the day off. I should say tomorrow. Try to take the day off unless something big happens. If this storm goes into a category 1 or worse, and we need to get on the air to tell people about it, to try to save some lives, we'll do that. If we don't come on the air tomorrow, we will be back on the air Sunday at 12 noon with Come Follow Me, the Savior Said, our weekly broadcast of Sunday school that we've been doing for now close to 3 years. God bless you all. God bless you. I love you very much. My dear friend, Nurse Ava Marie is here. Thank you for being here. I want to thank everybody for being here. I love you all. Take care. I hope you have a wonderful night and a wonderful weekend. If anything else happens, as soon as the information comes to us, we'll put it back here on the air as soon as we can. God be with you. God bless you to give you the things that you stand in need of. God be with you till we meet again. Have a great night, folks. Much love. We'll see you on the other side. Good night, everybody.